Hello everyone. I hope you all are keeping well. So let's start with the third chapter of English literature, that is Letters from Assam part 1. Before we start the chapter, let's know something about the chapter. Assam in the northeast of India has been called the tea garden of the world. The writer of these letters was in charge of one of the many tea estates in that district. The letters are addressed to a boy in London. So let's go through it. Uncle writes, that is the writer, he writes this way. Nahai Tea Estate, Assam, 1st December. Dear John, in your last letter, you asked me to describe the growing and making of tea. Now, that is a very big subject, but I shall try to tell you something about it. Uncle writes to John that tea grows on bushes. On a tea estate among the hills of Assam, there are thousands of tea bushes. They are planted close together in long lines and look like shrubs that have been cut flat across the top about 3 feet from the ground. Further, Uncle writes, although all plants are carefully raised from seeds, tea grows wild in Assam. Wild tea is quite a tall tree with much larger and coarser leaves than those of the plant which is grown in the estates. On a further note, he writes that early in the morning, companies of Indian women and children, each carrying a basket, go to the garden to pluck the leaf. Dressed up in bright and colorful clothes, they chatter and sing as they work. The tea leaf looks very much like the young shoots of any bushes that we see around our homes. Only the youngest and most tender leaves are plucked because the younger leaves make fine tea. 2 or 3 times a day, all the leaf that has been collected is weighed and taken off to the factory in Bullock carts, where it is made into tea. Now children, here I would like to clarify. Uncle writes to the boy that the tea leaf is carried to the factory in Bullock carts. It was during that time when the British ruled our country, because that in those days Bullock carts were in use. But today the leaf is carried to the factory in vehicles. The vehicles like tractors and other carriers. Okay. Now further, Uncle writes to the boy, while women and children are engaged in plucking the leaf, men of the estate, who are also called as workers, are employed in the garden. Their task is to clear the weeds in the long line of bushes, because the weeds grow very fast. If the weeds are not cleared, the bushes would soon be stifled by unwelcomed weeds. He also writes the growth of the leaf stops about Christmas time, and then the period of 3 months after this is to do various other jobs. The bushes are pruned regularly to keep them level, so that they may always be within reach of the pluckers. This is also the period when young tea plants are planted out. This is also the time of the year when the workers houses are built and repaired. They are constructed of bamboo, mud walls and thatch, so they do not take long to build. Now children, here again I would like to clarify the bamboo houses or the houses with mud walls were at the time of British. But these days all the workers, all the laborers of the tea estate have pakka houses. Even if a house of 2 rooms, but that is a pakka house. Now, uncle responses to John's question, that is, what is his, that is, uncle's work in the tea estate. He writes, my work is to go round every day and see that the work is being done properly. He writes that he does this work partly on his pony and partly on foot among the bushes. That is, when he has to go among the bushes, he does it on his foot. He writes, though it sounds easy work, but it is difficult when it rains hard. Besides his regular work, he is often called upon to settle disputes or decide questions between the laborers. Here, uncle means to say that since he is the manager of the tea garden, he also needs to settle the quarrels of the laborers. Now the last note that uncle writes to John before he ends this letter is, still I find time to play golf, polo and tennis. And now I am off to the club. I shall write you again next week telling you more about life on our tea estate. Your affectionate Uncle Bob. So children, this was the letter that uncle wrote to John, and I have explained the letter in my own words. I hope you understood it well. There is the other video where I have given the exercises, question and answers on this chapter. Please go through that video as well. Thank you.